everybody, and welcome back to Teacups and Blossoms. My name is Rebecca, and today I'm going to show you guys how I taste my teas. Now, some of you may notice that I'm wearing the same outfit as I was in my previous Blossoms Tea School, but sometimes you just have to make multiple videos in one day. So what I use when I'm tasting a new tea is I have my big notebook and my pen. I have a white ramekin, my favorite teacup and saucer, which is perfectly white on the inside so that I can take perfect note of the liqueur of the tea. My David's Tea Perfect Teaspoon. My tea. And my Teavana Perfect Tea Maker. I like to use this because I can really watch my tea develop and take note of how the leaves expand and the color, and it's just so pretty. The first tip I'm going to give to you guys is to use the same equipment every single time. And I'm not talking about every single time you make yourself a cup of tea, but every time you're tasting a new tea. Believe it or not, the type of teaware that you use actually affects the flavor of your tea. So every time I try a new tea, I always use the same utensils. Now, I'm not going to show you guys me writing it down. I'm basically just going to walk you through. I'm not really going to show you anything, but I'm just going to talk about what I do. So the first thing I do is I write down the name at the top of the paper. The next thing I write down is the brand. Where is the tea coming from? The next line is notes, which is anything that I might need to know about the tea. Is it loose leaf? Is it whole leaf? Is it in tea temples? Is it bag tea? What type of tea is it? Green, white, oolong, stuff like that. The next thing I do is I take my tea. Usually it is not in a container like this. It's usually in a foil bag, but I'm just going to use this as an example for today. So, it smells really good. So I take my little white ramekin and my perfect teaspoon. I take a spoonful, put it in there. I usually do 2 or 3, depending on how much it'll fit. Put those aside. And then I really study the tea notes. I see if I can tell the different ingredients, the state of the black leaves, is there any moisture in it, and I just take notes. What does the dry leaves look like? The next thing I note is the smell of the dry leaves. What does it smell like? What different ingredients can I pick out in the aroma of the tea? Next, I put the dry leaves into the Teavana Perfect Tea Maker, put boiling water in it, and let it steep. Once it is done brewing, I pour some into my teacup, and then I note the liqueur of the tea. For those of you who don't know what the liqueur of the tea is, that's basically what does this brewed tea look like? What's the color? Is there any sediment or a little bit of film on the top? Is there any excess leaves? Just different notes like that. As my tea is cooling, I then note, what do the brewed tea leaves look like? Are they fully expanded? Are they still small? What color are they? Because information like that really tells you about the quality of the tea you're drinking. Now comes for the actual tasting of the tea. Right before I take my first sip, I also note the smell of the brewed tea. Because oftentimes the smell of the dry leaves and then the smell of the brewed tea aren't necessarily the same. Sometimes I'll have a brewed tea that smells amazing and the dry leaves smell awful, or the dry leaves smell amazing and the smell of the tea tastes kind of, or smells kind of like, ugh. It really is all different. So when I drink my tea, I slurp. Now that's not technically proper tea time manners. When you slurp your tea, you're also taking in air, which helps develop the flavors just a little bit more. The first thing I know are the head notes, which is, what is the very first thing I taste? What's the first thing that pops into my head the second the tea touches my mouth? Sometimes I have to do this a couple times, like, what is that? Then I write down the body notes. What is the second thing that I'm noticing? What does the tea mostly taste like? The third thing I write down are the end notes. What am I tasting as I'm swallowing it? What's the last thing, the one that's kind of in the back, but it's not really prominent? The last thing that I note is the aftertaste. Now this kind of looks weird the way I do it, but when I sit there, after I take my first sip of tea, I sit there with my mouth open and I just breathe in and out very slowly and try to note what is left over. So I just sit there kind of like this, with my tongue hanging a little bit out and just letting the air come in and really trying to focusing on the aftertaste. Now that I have my first sip down, I take a few more sips and I note the mouth feel, which is how does it make my mouth feel? Does it leave it dry? Does it kind of leave it like a little puckery, a little bit bitter? Or is it smooth? Is it like water? Is it creamy? Just how does it feel as it's in my mouth and as I'm swallowing it? After I finish my cup of tea, or I'm about halfway through the cup of tea, I try to take note of the mental and physical effects. Some teas like chamomile have a relaxing effect, while ginger root helps with upset tummies. What I mean by mental effects is it calming? Is it energizing? Does it bring you back to a happy time in your memory? Does it remind you of something sad? What mood does it put you in? Does it have any physical effects like I said earlier? How does it make you feel? After I finish down writing all of these things, I then write down just different notes, like how could I see myself drinking this tea? If I close my eyes, do I picture myself drinking this tea while I'm on the couch, cuddled up with a book? Do I see myself drinking it on the go? Do I see myself drinking it at a tea party? What does this tea remind me of, and what kind of event or activity could I see myself drinking this tea? I then write down the overall score. My score is usually based on quality of the tea, the appearance of the dried and brewed leaves, the smell, and the taste. When I'm doing videos like this, I also note the packaging, because for me, packaging is a really big deal, and there's just something nice about a nice tea package. But just for my personal tea use and my notebook, the packaging isn't as important as the rest of the things on the list. I rate my teas using a 5-star system. When I give a tea 1 star, that means I did not like the tea, there was nothing about it I liked, and sometimes they may have just one of the items on the list, but usually it's a complete dud for me. 2 stars means, it was okay. It was, sure it had good quality, or I liked the packaging, or it only had maybe 1.5 items on the list, and there's like it's not bad, but it's not the best. 3 stars means I liked it. It was a good tea. It had nice quality, or it tastes good, or it smelled good. Those usually have 2 or 3 items that are on my list. 4 stars means I really liked it. This was a good tea. It had almost everything on my list. It had amazing quality. It smelled really good. It tasted good. I liked the packaging. It's really up there. And then 5 teas means this is the best tea that I've ever had. It's so amazing. It has everything on my list to the very top of its possibility. This tea is good. And I only give 5 stars to one tea every once in a great while. I think I've only found 2 teas so far that are just way up there. They're so amazing. I can't get over them. They are good. Most of the time when it comes to teas, I usually give it a 4 or 3. I've only had maybe 1 or 2 teas that have only had 1 star. I've had a few with 2 stars, but most of the time they're in the 3 or 4 star range. So at the bottom of the page, I write my overall score. How many stars do I give this tea? Would I recommend it to a friend? And what do I like about this tea so much? Why am I rating it what I'm rating it? For those of you who watch this channel, you may have noticed that I don't really give bad reviews. Actually, I think I remember one time in my tea tag video when I gave a negative review on a tea, and that was only because it was part of a tag. The reason I don't do that and I don't really dwell on just bad teas is that usually when I don't like a tea, one of my friends or a family member really likes the taste. So I don't like to give bad reviews because usually if it's not my cup of tea, it's definitely someone else's. Now if I have a tea that's 1 star that is just awful, the quality is awful, the smell, the taste, everything is bad, then I won't recommend it, but I'm not going to go around bashing the tea. So I hope this video was really helpful for you guys and that it's given you a little bit of insight about when I make these videos, where I'm coming from, and the process that I am reviewing them in. I'm also really curious to know, how do you guys review your teas? When you're trying a tea for the first time, what steps do you take? Do you have a tea notebook like I do where you write everything out? What is your process? If I have left anything out, if you guys have any other questions, please let me know down in the comments. If you guys have any ideas for future videos, let me know down in the comments, because I want to create awesome content that you guys will be able to both enjoy and learn from. I hope you guys are having an amazing day full of tea and happiness, and I will see you next time. Bye!